Welcome everybody, Josh the RV Nerd with Bish's RV here, getting some updated what's in store for 2024 footage on the 260BH Surveyor. And this is a floor plan that comes in just under 30 feet, like 7,800 pounds maximum. This is a fantastic half-ton towable family camper right here. I want to be careful not to say half-ton family camper, because that could mean something different, and I don't feel like getting canceled today, maybe tomorrow. It's similar to some other things that I've seen out there, but it's always a little bit different. Like, it gives us a private true queen bedroom with just fantastic storage all around the bed, including some awesome headboard power pockets. It's carpetless, it's ventless, so it's real easy to clean. Great if you got little kids that like to drop Skittles and stuff all over the place. I'd have been a Lego kid. I'd have definitely dropped some Legos down those. Wouldn't have been a problem in a camper like this one. Has a central vacuum even to make that cleanup even easier, and they give you 3 different seating swaptions. If you're kind of curious, check out my footage of this from 2023. I think I have footage of one of these with either a hide-a-bed or a theater seat in it. Today we're looking at one with a 2-bench dinette, so you can get it one of 3 different ways, and the 2 different sofas actually come with their own floating table. Plus it has that elevated countertop serving station, so you can have like seating for 6 in this thing with everybody all kind of eating and munching at the same time. Like, maybe you need to pack a bunch of kids all around the dinette, and then, you know, you kind of sit up on the table and sort of keep like the bird's eye view of things. Whatever works for you. The bunk does the move bunk get out the way maneuver to create a cargo bunk situation. I think you could load a kayak up the back side of this thing, which is an awkward thing to think about when you say it and phrase it like that. They've dramatically improved their solar package. Better tires, better weather package, standard by default now as well. They've done a lot of things that you were looking for last year, all wrapped them up into this thing, and I'm really curious to know, what do you think about it as we go? I'll try to show you what's awesome, maybe what isn't, and let you decide if it's the right one for you or not. And it's really interesting to me how transformative a simple seating swap out can really be in an RV. Because the first time I saw this model, it had either a hide-a-bed or a theater seat. It had some kind of sofa over here with that lagoon table, and it felt totally foreign and different, and I really liked it. I really liked what I saw. With the dinette here, it feels far more traditional, but it gives the whole camper to me a very different feel. Now, it probably doesn't hurt that they also completely tweaked over the decor. Last year, they had almost like a dark gray kind of look to it, and everything's a very light cream, not quite white, and it doesn't have the sort of like distressed accents that like a lot of the farmhouse looks have. They definitely went that hard saddle brown on some of the soft surfaces, like the seating and whatnot. But it doesn't, like, it all works for me. I will tell you, though, things like color palettes on camera, like if that looks like crap to you, figuratively or literally, definitely check it out in person, because the camera sometimes sees a little bit differently. But what I'm getting at is that with the dinette, it suddenly becomes like a family game, like, what do I want to say, board game machine. That's what I kept saying game board in my head. Board games, yeah. Like, if you want to sit inside and play board games with the family or something on a rainy day, the dinette feels really good. Depends, I think, maybe on how many people you have camping in your family, though. I kind of like the idea of a theater seat, so that if you are stuck inside on a rainy day, the grown-ups have a very comfortable place they can camp out, because our bones are no longer bendy like those young bones often are. Now, that elevated breakfast bar will always be there regardless of what seat swaption you put over here in the sofa. Another thing that's cool on these, you do not have to upgrade the air conditioner. It comes by default with a nice large 15,000 BTU air unit, and that is a 6'9" ceiling. So that taller ceiling means taller cabinets. It means more room between the countertops and cabinets for just more open window space, which is one of the unsung qualities of this RV right here. Like, if I twist you around, I'm going to try to go slow and not make you motion sick. Starting up in the bedroom, you've got a half dozen windows facing your campsite on this RV, between the bedroom, the door, the 2 in the kitchen, and then the 2 over in the bunks, which when you're actually sitting in the seating, you can actually see out of these very easily and very well. Your campsite window coverage in this RV is absolutely awesome sauce. Now, they've done a couple interesting little touch-ups here, too. Sometimes it doesn't have to be much. It just has to be more than 0. They added that little, bass player kind of band right here, and created a spice rack. Now, I used to be in a band. It might surprise a lot of you. I was in a loud, fun, 5-piece rock and roll Michigan bar band. And I learned a lot of things during that time. Like, do you know how to identify a bass player's car in the parking lot after the gig? Well, it's the one that has the pizza delivery sign on the top of it. My favorite part about that joke is it could be bass players, it could be guitarists, drummers, it could be RV nerds, it could be literally anything, and that joke just works. It's so much fun. Braze windows for both bunks is also a nice touch. And if I pivot you around again slowly, you'll see some USB plugs for both beds, which is something I personally really welcome. Now, the converter panel over here, I'm glad they put it on this side of that cabinet and not that side of the cabinet where that power outlet is. Because if the slide was closed and God forbid you popped a fuse, you can still get to it over here. You would not easily be able to get to it over there. We will see in a little bit here, they've actually updated their window blinds. Well, instead of a pleated shade, or a pleated blind, or whatever, it's instead of the pleated cloth variety, it's now a blackout roller variety, and they will do a heck of a job of really blotting the sun out in this thing. Now, we are not only pet friendly and easy cleaning with no floor heat vents or anything like that, but we're even easier to clean because this is one of the very few travel trailers out there that does, standard from the factory, include a central vac system, which I think is very cool. Over here, you might notice there's just this funky bracket sitting behind the stovetop. Well, that's where the sink cover would normally be located. Last year, it was either a cutting board or like a stovetop backsplash. Now, it's those and the sink cover. They resized it just slightly to make it work. Now, you can see some power outlets down there. If I get low over here and blow out my lower back, you can see some power outlets under that overhead cabinet and under that overhead cabinet. Now, these I understand because there's only an 1.5 inch laminated wall beside them, so you can't really have outlets down any closer to the ground level or the countertop level. That outlet under here, I wish was down there. Tell me that wouldn't make more sense down there. It wouldn't cost a cent more, and I think it would just function better. Now, the entertainment setup on this it's good or not good, really kind of depending on the seating situation that you go with. You know, if we were sitting over here in a theater seat and that TV pivoted out, it wouldn't be too terrible. In a dinette, again, it's mostly just a rainy day survival situation kind of going on. But, you know, I could see that maybe possibly working for you there. That is, by the way, a fold-up cargo bunk. I mentioned that earlier, but you'll get to see that demonstrated in living color in just a few minutes. And actually, while we're talking about the bunks, start right up top here. You've got separate privacy curtains for both bunks and a ladder included from the factory to get the kids to the upper bed. A lot of campers don't do that, or a lot of factories don't do that. The word campers can mean owners or RVs, whichever the case may be. You get my point, though. You don't have to throw the kids into the bed. The storage in the kitchen is pretty decent. It is broken up a little bit, like you have cabinet storage on to the right of the stove. You have a couple drawers to the left. You got the big fridge over in the slide out. And that's one of the things that helps make the RV look and feel so big, the fact that the fridge is in the slide. It gets that big bulky object out of the way, and that creates the space for the pantry over there between the dinette slide and the bathroom. Without that fridge in there, you wouldn't, like, the whole RV would have to change a little bit. So overall, I like the arrangement, and it's a small enough camper that even though it is busted up a little bit, I don't know, I can still make it work. I don't think it's too awful bad myself, but opinions can vary. I don't know. I will tell you my personal opinion. I don't like those knee knocker dining legs. I prefer to go with something a little more free floaty, but that's just how I like to roll, I do suppose. Moving on to the back here. What do we got? We have ourselves porcelain foot flush stool that overall, not too bad elbow room. You could kind of bump your elbow on the toilet paper roller right there. I think I might personally move that, but I don't know, man. It seems like every time a manufacturer installs one, it's always like, quote, in the wrong position, but everybody's opinion on what the right position is different. You may notice, though, you can also use that little box down there where some of the plumbing is hidden, speaking of positions, as like a squatty potty position. And these, like most RVs, have the more conventional fan. And for those who are regular viewers, I might start harping on this a little bit less because I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. It'll be one of those things where I almost assume that's the default fan. and I will tell you if it has a bigger fan, so maybe that'll help some regular viewers. Anyway, tall ceiling means headroom in the shower, which I personally really appreciate. And it is a shower, not a tub. It does not have a really big, tall step in, kind of climb over sort of situation going on here. It's been a little while since I saw this one, and I've never seen it with a dinette. But I think when it comes to traveling access in road mode, it might start getting a little tricky over here. Because the road mode accessibility on this one is going to depend somewhat on the seating that you choose. The dinette is kind of the biggest and bulkiest and sticks out the furthest, and that does create a little bit of a pinch point right here. Now, if you got the skinny chicken legs like mine, you can kind of slide through there if you need to, but there's kind of, I mean, you know, if if you're entering door number 1 and you need to go use door number 2, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, one of the things you can do is actually slide in that rear cargo door if you had to, depending on what's there, or like I just did in real time right there, you can bump the slide open just a little bit. It's a rack and pinion slide that's not going to screw anything up. While we're back here though, one of the cool things is you have a long straight shot loading area right there. Whether, you know, you use it for cargo or not, I'm looking at that and I see no reason why you wouldn't be able to fit a kayak in there. You could probably stack a couple kayaks on top of one another. And that bathroom door, by the way, is not at all obstructed by the slide fascia. So I don't know that I give it fantastic road mode accessibility, but I also don't think it's terrible. And I don't know, I could deal with it. And if you go again with one of the sofas, it's even easier to get through.
And as you may have noticed, I appear to have completely forgotten to cover the bedroom in this one, which I'm really kicking myself for because they did a fantastic job up there. So it's a fully private bedroom with a 60 by 80 true queen bed. And what's awesome is there's storage all around that thing. But one of the things I think is really fantastic is you have household and USB outlets on both sides of the bed that you can clearly see when you walk into the room down at the bottom of the bed bases. But behind the headboard hanging wardrobes, there's like shelves and an extra set of household outlets. So if you want to put like a phone charger or anything back there, they've done a really good job of it. Not to mention there's all kinds of drawer space, below the hanging wardrobe towers. They also, the cabinet doors overhead above the bed are actually strutted, so they hold themselves open, so you don't got to try to juggle them. And they've recently improved the storage under that true queen bed, which is fantastic. Here's a quick little look at some of that, but I do apologize that I kind of fell flat on my face on this one. If you want a little bit better look at what that bedroom does look like, check my 2023 footage of this RV because I actually remembered to look at the bedroom in that one, and then just kind of cross-reference that against the current look of these things and the storage updates that I gave you there. So, never claimed to be perfect, obviously.
For towing, this is definitely, I feel, beyond the range of a mid-size tow package pickup. Like, I think, Ford Rangers or something like that, they can top out at like 7,800 pounds towing or something in that range. And someone's going to say, the GVW falls within that. Yeah, but this camper, it's 29 feet 11 inches, so we're just going to say for the sake of argument, it's a 30-foot camper. That's too much for a mid-size pickup. But, decent late model, tow package half-ton. You should find this a fairly comfortable pairing. Now, something that we were looking at right there is another of those 24 updates. That's the tankless on-demand water heater. So you got a whole bunch of kids in this thing and you're doing back-to-back-to-back hot showers. Nobody has to take a cold shower, which is nice. You can just see that yellow antenna on the right side of the propane tank cover sticking out. That's the relay for the tire pressure monitoring, which is factory standard on here. Also, speaking of towing safety stuff, not only is it tandem axle, they've improved the tires. Last year they were running on imports. Today we are running on Goodyear Endurance radials, which is something a ton of people asked for last year. Along with that feedback last year, a lot of people said their 80-watt solar package was a little lackluster. Surveyor said, all right, you got it. And they bumped up to 200 watts, and they also bumped up their charge controller as well. To me, I think that's that 200 watt panel with a 30 amp charge controller, especially with a 12-volt fridge, feels like a respectable base level solar package. Now, to my knowledge, they're not currently offering any sort of like big solar or anything like that. But the good news, you work with us here at Bish's RV, that's stuff that we can always custom make for you as required. Now, that is a big storage compartment up front under that true queen bed. I left the griddle box in there just to kind of show you how it's dwarfed by everything by comparison. But where that water heater is located, they did not have the opportunity to put a big baggage door on both sides, so you will probably keep your big stuff over here. Although, if I had to guess, this is probably the side of the pass-through that gets the most use, but I might be wrong. I know that that's true in my case. It doesn't mean that that's true across the board. I try to remember that my understanding of camping and the understanding of camping are not necessarily the same thing. So I love all the feedback that you folks provide. You really help me out there. They put the biggest awning on it they could. I'm eyeballing it. I'm guessing that's a 15, 16-foot awning, something like that. They couldn't go any bigger. It'd be cool if they did somehow, but with the location of like the bunk windows and the camp kitchen, it just wasn't quite possible. And once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows on the campsite of this thing. That's some pretty decent campsite window coverage in a style of floor plan that historically is not well known for that. Now, as long as we're kind of looking down here, something that you can't really see is beyond the underbelly skin, because all you really see is that it's enclosed. Every single Surveyor, even their little single axle guys, have an enclosed and forced air heated belly. Now, something that was optional last year, but is now standard, is that these also come with a radiant barrier package through that underbelly and a set of holding tank heaters on all of your water tanks to give you some very respectable extended season capacity. Now, what I respect about Surveyor is they're not trying to overpromise and underdeliver, and they're not saying, we are magically 4 seasons now. They might be capable. I don't know. They haven't actually done the testing, but I appreciate the fact that they're not just winging a promise, hoping it's true. They're saying we're extended season capable. Now, what that's really going to mean, a lot of people don't realize. They're going to say, well, how cold can it get? And I'll ask a lot of people, well, were you going to camp when the snowflakes are flying? And the response is usually, well, absolutely not. Some people, yes, but often no. Well, if you're not going to camp when snowflakes are flying, you don't need some magic 4 seasons camper. And this already has that bigger air conditioner and everything to help you through those hotter sunshiny seasons. If you're going to be camping in sub-freezing conditions, I can't give you a hard number what it can hold up to. What I can tell you is that if it drops below freezing tonight and then comes back above freezing tomorrow, this one should be okay. That's about the most I can really tell you. Now, cargo bunk thing is really cool, but sometimes people get weirded out about a door being right next to your kids, and as a paranoid protective father, like way too protective, I really appreciate that we do have a deadbolt on that door right there, so you can make sure that that's not something that comes to pass. Now, last year, if I remember right, they had a cargo rack on the back of these. They subbed that out, and they now have that receiver hitch off the back. Which is, I'll have to double check it. Usually those have like a 250 to 300 pound rating on them. That can allow you to do a little bit of whatever you want. You know, if you want the cargo tray, great. If you want a bike rack or a generator tray, fantastic, you can do that. But it means that you don't have to muscle that big heavy cargo tray out of the way if you want to utilize that rear cargo door anymore. That's a problem that these things kind of used to have. Now, you may have noticed we're roof ladder ready. We're also prepped and ready for slide awnings, although something that a lot of people don't realize, if an RV doesn't have these specific brackets that say slide awning prep, typically the RV can still have slide awnings applied. Keep in mind that through the majority of RV history, slide awnings were installed before those little prep brackets were ever included. Those are basically prep brackets for one specific type of awning, but it can make the install a little bit easier. And something I keep forgetting to talk about on these Surveyors is the fact that they are an Asdel using brand. If you're not familiar with Asdel, it is a composite material. It's primarily made, last I knew, out of like melted pop bottles, which is fantastic. I bet I have personally built multiple Asdel walls with my Mountain Dew habit that I really need to break again. I always slide back into those old habits. Anyway, I guess that's why they're called habits, right? I've just lacked the willpower to overcome them. My point here is what Azdel does is it can knock down some extra noise. There's some evidence to support that it does have a little bit better thermal resistance, but the idea of it is that it's just a little bit lighter way of building the sidewall, which helps open up more cargo carrying capacity on a little camper like this, which is something that a lot of them really suffer from a painful lack thereof. I said thereof, like I'm smart. And this model very quickly became one of those that, like, if I was personally shopping for an RV, it would probably be on my personal hit list. I like this. I like this a lot. I like the layout. I like the execution. I'd probably go with a theater seat with the table myself, but that's just me. What would you go with and why? I'd be kind of curious to know. And to help you kind of make that decision, check the links in the video description or scan the QR code off your phone if you're watching on TV. And that'll show you where we have one of these in stock and what we're asking on a given day. And if we happen to be sold out, drop our team a note. We're happy to get you figures on something. You don't have to give us a down payment before we can get you a quote. I know that sounds stupid, but you'd be surprised the kind of things that happen out there. Thankfully, I enjoy the fact that I work for a place that doesn't conduct that kind of business. So when you're ready, we're ready. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.